questions that you would maybe like to ask the main character? Who can tell me what a character is? Does that mean Demi?
It's a person who's acting out the story.
Yeah, it's like a person that's in the story, okay? So I want you to think who the most important person is and what questions you would like to ask them. Is that all right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear you. Is that okay?
Yeah!
All right, so let's have a little look. So giraffes can't dance. Gerald was a tall giraffe. His neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully bandy and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees, but when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. What do you think that means if he buckled at the knees? Nicole?
He trips over.
Oh, he trips over. And why do you think he might trip over, Nicole?
Because he's too tall.
It might be because he's very tall. It might be a bit difficult to walk, mightn't it? Now, every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad, because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. The warthogs started waltzing, and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango, which was elegant and bold. The timsol did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish rave. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked towards the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. Hey, look at clumsy Gerald! The animals all laughed. Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, don't be daft.
That was it. Impressive.
Oh, Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot. So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before, so sad and so alone.
That was it.
Oh, a little bird's then I thought, oh, let me count. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. The moon can be so beautiful, he whispered with a sigh. Excuse me, coughed Cricket. He'd seen Gerald earlier on. But sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song. Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying and his tail was swishing round. He threw his arms out sideways and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Gerald felt so wonderful, his mouth was open wide. I am dancing, yes I'm dancing, I am dancing, Gerald cried. One by one each animal who had been there at the dance stood while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, it's a miracle, we must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen. Gerald felt so wonderful. Oh, we went back. How is it you can dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how. But Gerald simply twizzled round and finished with the bow. Oh, our board's pretty today. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. We all can dance, he said, when we find music that we love. Now, what do you think of that story here, Tim? What do you reckon, C.B. Rose?
Nice.
It's a nice story, isn't it? Did anyone notice anything about what we're going to do now, boys and girls, is we're going to imagine that we are at a press conference with Gerald the giraffe. Does anyone know what a press conference is? Joshua?
It might be like a little show, a little dance where you have to bring a partner.
It's not a little show or dance, but you have to bring a partner.
What Lola said before, it was my own words. I was waiting to tell you that, but you were reading the story.
Oh, no problem. Well, I'm really glad that you noticed that as well. The more people that notice that, the better. So a press conference, it isn't a little dance, but go try. Press conference is, do you know, sometimes on the television, on the news, and maybe they do it with football as well, and sometimes they'll have the footballers sitting at the front, and they'll be on a nice table, and they'll have all these men and women from the newspapers there, and they'll ask the footballers questions. So, who's your favourite footballer? Dominic?
I can't remember his name.
Oh, you can't remember his name. Can anyone remember the name of their favourite footballer? Declan?
I only know the team he's in.
Okay, well, what team is it?
Downton.
Downton. Alright, so we imagine that I'm a footballer from Downton football team, okay? And that you're all the people from the newspapers and you want to ask me a question. So, if you wanted to ask me a question, how they do it at a press conference is, they might have their questions written down and they'll put their hand up and they'll say, so Declan, I'm going to pretend that you're the footballer and I'll say, Miss Cunningham from Stevenson's Way Times. Declan, how did you feel when you scored that goal for your team?
Happy.
Okay, so do you see how they present their questions? So the newspaper people, they put up a question, they say what newspaper they're from and their own name, and then they ask a question. Do you think, boys and girls, that you could pretend to be news reporters and ask Gerald some questions? Think we could do that? Well, I'm going to show you a little example. On these cards here, we have some red writing and we have some black writing. Now, the red writing tells us the name of the newspaper that we're going to be from, okay? So this newspaper is called Savannah Times, okay? Savannah Times. And my question word, can you read what that question word is, Nicole? Donna, could you give her a little hand? What? Okay, so my question word is what, okay? So I have to say that I'm from Savannah Times, I have to tell them my name, and I have to think of a question to ask Gerald that begins with what. So who thinks they could pretend to be Gerald for me for a minute? Demi, okay. So I'm going to be the news reporter and you're going to be Gerald the giraffe. Are you ready? Alright. Ooh, Gerald! Miss Cunningham from Savannah Times. What happened, Gerald? Why couldn't you dance?
Because the first time I couldn't dance it was because I didn't like their kind of music. So when I heard the crickets music, I liked it.
Oh, okay. So it was the music, and once you find your own music, you liked it better. Alright, thank you. Now, do you think, in your little groups that I put you into, do you think that you can come up with your own question that you can ask me? Because guess who I'm going to pretend to be?
Gerald.
I'm going to pretend to be Gerald the giraffe. Do you think you can manage that in your groups? You come up with one question, and then you have to choose one person from your group to ask me the question. Does that make sense? Yeah? Alright, I'll give you your little cards. So, in Alicia's little group, your paper is the lion leader. Have a look at what kind of question you need to ask me. In Lola's group, yours is Baboon Buzz. Joshua's Zebra Gazette. And who have I missed out? My front group here. Chimps Chronicle. Is that it? I need one more.
I'm going to say
There we go. Warthogs Weekly. Alright. Right, boys and girls. I'll give you a couple of minutes to chat in your groups and think about what question you want to ask me as Gerald? Have a little think about the story and what kind of thing you want to ask Gerald. You can ask me when you're Gerald, so do your group about it. Joshua's group, hope you're having a little chat about what kind of questions it is. Pardon? Have a little look at your question word. What kind of questions do you ask Gerald with that question word? Have a little chat with Joshua. Hope you're listening to the girls and see what kind of question you can come up Right, year 2. Have we got a question? Can we sit smartly in our groups, on our bottoms? Remember what we talked about? Harry, has your group not come up with a question? Lola, have you got a question for your group? Do you want to tell Harry quickly? Do you want to tell him quietly before you ask Gerald? Tell Harry your question. Now, everyone else, let's see who's sitting smartly and what group we're going to take from first. Okay, Joshua, can you stop shouting, please?
I don't know, Lucy. She can't make one.
Well, can you, Lucy, share your question or Stevie Rose's question? Because we're only taking one question from each group. Okay? We only need one. Right, is everyone sitting smartly, Dominic? Right. Are we ready to meet Gerald the giraffe?
Yeah.
Do we remember how we need to ask our questions?
Yeah.
What's the first thing that we need to tell Gerald? What's the first thing, Demi?
You have to say your name and then say where you go to and then ask the question.
Yeah, you say your name, what newspaper you're from, and then you ask Gerald your question. Now, Dominic and Nicole, can you move back and sit properly, please? Right. So I'm going to be Gerald the giraffe. Now, who shall I ask first? I think I'll have Declan's group.
Declan, why did they laugh at him?
Well, they laughed at me, Declan, because I'm not a very good dancer, and I didn't like it. It made me feel very sad. Dominic. Which newspaper are you from, Dominic? Are you from the Chips Chronicle? Okay, and what's your question?
When did you start dancing?
Oh, well, Dominic, I started dancing at the dance that you've just read about in our book, but I was very nervous, but then once I found the music that I liked, I haven't stopped ever since. Lola.
Whose dance do you go to?
Oh, I go to lots of dances. Now that I've found the music that I like, I go and dance with all the different animals at all their parties. And Joshua?
Zebra Gazette, Joshua. How did you find your favourite music?
Well, Joshua, I found my favourite music thanks to the cricket, because when the cricket spoke to me, then he told me to listen for the music that I thought was best, and then I heard it, and then I knew that that music was for me. And our last question, Jimmy.
Jerry, the lion's leader. Where do you live?
Oh, Jimmy, I live in Africa, and it's very hot there. I think you would like it. The sun shines all the time. All right. Okay, so what do we think of Gerald's answers, boys and girls? What do we think about what he's told us, Lola?
Fantastic.
Were his answers good?
Yeah.
Are they okay? All right, so we've had a little chat with Gerald, and I've got one more job that I want us to do. But I think first everyone needs to sit smartly and look this way, because I think some people are a little bit distracted. Okay, so what I want us to do, just quickly, I want us to think of some adjectives to describe Gerald. Because we've met him in our story and we've had a little chat with him. What adjectives could be used to describe Gerald? Ben. Thin. He's thin, yeah. We could have thin. But what about how he's feeling? Not what he looks like. How can we describe how Gerald might have been feeling during what's happened to him? Harry?
Sad life.
Sad? Yeah, could be sad, Harry. Yeah. Can anyone think of any big posh words like our wow words to describe how Gerald might have been feeling? Tegan?
Upset.
Oh, I like that one, Tegan. I'll be set, yeah. We're going to take two more. So we've got thin, sad, upset. You can come up with something different. Liam?
Worried.
Oh, worried. Why might you have been worried, Liam?
Because he couldn't dance.
Yeah, because he couldn't dance, yeah. And our last one, Nicole?
Happy.
Happy.
Right.
When would he have been happy? What
When
part?
I found his favorite.
Yeah, he would have been happy when he found his favourite music. All right, well, thank you very much.